Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Lyle, and this is WNBA Weekly, and here is a quick recap of some of the action that you might have missed this weekend. There were 4 games that were played on Friday, and in each of them had some big storylines. Bria Hartley led the team with 16 points. Stephanie Dolson was 1 rebound short of a double-double, but Coleman led the Fever with 20 points, and they end Washington's winning streak at 3 and extend their own winning streak to 4 straight. And then in the second game, despite 22 points from Taurasi, Johnson got a double-double, Skylar Diggins was 1 assist short of a double-double, and Odyssey Sims has 21 points, a career high for her, as the Shock finally get their first win of the season, dominating the Mercury. And then Delle Donne had a career night, 33 points, 14 rebounds, but just the Sparks in general just had a great all-around game and just total domination from start to finish, in all honesty. The biggest storyline of the night, the Lynx had 4 starters scoring in double figures, while for the Storm, they had 3 starters scoring double figures, and Sue Bird did not make a single shot from the field tonight, but she had a season-high 10 assists as the Storm pull off the great upset, handing the Lynx their first loss of the season. Then on Saturday, Little has a double-double, D'Souza and McCautry both have 20 points, as the Dream, they just dominate. I don't know what was wrong with this guy. They just couldn't do anything right, and they have their first 2-game losing streak of the season. This was just a tough weekend for the Sky, but they're still holding on to that number 1 spot in the East, albeit they have absolutely no room for error right now. Connecticut Sun had 5 players scoring in double figures, led by Alex Bentley, who had 20 points and 5 assists, as they end the Fever's winning streak, sending them back to 500. And then you had the game of the night. You had Becky Hammond leading the team with 9 assists. Sophia Young-Malcolm had her first double-double of the season. And the Stars and the Mercury, they went into double overtime. And the final score is not really indicative of how close this game was. It was an even contest all the way through, obviously, since they went to 2 overtimes. But in the second overtime, the Mercury, they finished really strong. They dominated. Sparks had the Stars, had 2 points in that second overtime. They ran out of energy. Every single player on the Mercury roster who got on the floor had at least 1 assist. 4 of them had 5 assists. You had 4 players scoring double figures. Penny Taylor was 1 rebound short of a double-double. Candice Dupree led the team with 26 points, and 1 more rebound. She would have had a double-double. Brittany Griner had a huge double-double as well, with 16 points and a season-high 18 rebounds. And if I'm not mistaken, that's also her career high. I'd have to check that information again. See, I'm kind of disappointed in Griner's career at this point in time, because you're 6'8", and you're one of the most athletic players to ever grace the league. I was expecting some Margot Didek type numbers out of her. Seriously, Brittany, you're 6'8", and you've got a hell of a vertical. You should be getting those putback dunks by now. Shit. I'm expecting 20 rebounds a game from this girl when she comes into the league, and she's averaging, 6? Then on Sunday, Cappie Pondexter has a season-high 21 points as the Liberty hand the Mystics their 2nd straight loss. And then in the big Western Conference duel, you have Candace Parker with 24 points and 11 rebounds. But the Lynx had all 5 players score in double digits. Simone Augustus had a team-high 26 points. Dantas and Moore both had double-doubles, and the Lynx, they bounced back from their loss to keep command of that number 1 spot. So after a wild weekend where it seems like everyone went 1-1, here are the standings. As you know, during the week there usually aren't a lot of contests, but still, if you have free time, go ahead and check them out. They might be good. So we start with Tuesday. There are 3 games being played. The first one is New York at Tulsa. The Shock, they got their first win of the season, and they now look to defend home court against a struggling Liberty team. The Shock, 4 of their first 5 games were on the road, and this is also their first time playing against an Eastern Conference team. And this Eastern Conference team, in particular the Liberty, they have not done well against the Western Conference so far. They haven't done well on the road. I think it'll be a nice little matchup to see. Then you've got Phoenix at Washington. The Mystics, they're on a 2-game losing streak. They're trying to turn it around, but thanks to Chicago losing 2 in a row, Phoenix now has the 2nd best record in the entire league. I had such high hopes for the Mercury coming into the season, and with the exception of a couple of unsightly blemishes, they've played some amazing basketball this year, and I just have a lot more confidence in them at this stage in time than I do in the Mystics. And after stunning the basketball world by handing the Lynx their first loss of the season, the Storm are going into Chicago looking to extend their own winning streak as well as Chicago's losing streak. Chicago started the season well, and if you break down the numbers, they're 5-1 against the Eastern Conference, with their only loss coming against the Atlanta Dream, who many people picked to win the Eastern Conference again this season. But they're also 0-2 against the West, albeit both of those games were against the Lynx and the Sparks, who just about everyone picked one of those teams to win the West. Meanwhile, the Storm, it's great to see them win against a powerhouse team. Sue Bird looks like she's starting to get her feel back for the game, albeit she's still not shooting that well. So, it's hard to see, do they have their swagger back? It's hard to say for sure. And the amazing thing with the Sky is that even though they've been playing particularly well, they're still missing some of their key players. I mean, the Sky are not going to be the Sky until they get Sylvia Fowles back. She's a huge part of what they do. I mean, this is one of those games you just have to watch it to see what happens. Then on Wednesday, you've only got one game, Seattle at Indiana. And Indiana, their winning streak came to an end, and now they're looking to bounce back. This is the first time this season that they're playing a Western Conference team. And Seattle, meanwhile, they're on the road, 2 straight games, first at Chicago, then the very next day at Indiana. It's hard to see them winning both of these. Then on Thursday, you've got Phoenix at Connecticut. The last 2 number 1 overall picks, Brittany Griner last season, this season Chiney Ogwumike. Now they're going head-to-head. Connecticut on the road this year, they're 0-4 and they're 2-5 against the East, but they're 3-2 at home, 1-1 against Western Conference teams. So the numbers back them up having a decent game today. But Phoenix has the second best record in the league behind only Minnesota, and there's really no reason for me to believe that they're not going to keep winning right now, especially against a Connecticut team that currently tied with Seattle for the second worst record in the league. Well, that's it for this edition of WNBA Weekly. I am your host, Nathan Lyle. This has been The Fan Perspective. Tune in on Friday for another all-new episode. And don't forget that you can still go online to WNBA.com once a day and vote to send your favorite players to the All-Star Game.